Hello everybody, and welcome to the Primary ICT Support video channel. My name is John, and we're continuing our Visual Builder series with a look at the Themify Visual Builder itself and what to expect when working with it. In this video, we'll be looking at the framework of the Visual Builder, including the top bar, the right-hand side contextual panel and how to add modules, rows and more to the page, how the builder breaks up its pages into rows and columns, and how to identify what is a module, column or a row. This is the second video in the series, so if you haven't watched the first video, please do so, as this will introduce you to some of the basics of the Visual Builder. Also, if you're unfamiliar with WordPress, please check out our WordPress series for a more in-depth look at WordPress itself. Let's get started. As you can see, we are logged into our WordPress site and are ready to start looking at editing the content by turning on the Visual Builder by clicking this link here. I've gone through this in more details in a previous video. Please check out our link to the playlist on the Visual Builder series below. The Visual Builder is now loaded. You can tell this because the top black WordPress bar has been replaced by the Visual Builder's bar, and the right-hand panel should now be visible as well. We will go into the different sections in this video, but let's focus on the top bar for now. The top bar is where the main parts of the builder are shown, including closing and saving the page. Starting from the right hand side, you can see the Save button. Clicking this button will save the page, and any changes made to the content will be published to the site instantly. Make sure you only press this button when you have checked your changes are correct, as any changes will be available for everybody to view. You can also save the changes as a revision and come back to them at a later time to finish editing the page or load a revision you have previously been working on. The backend link and X link shown here will close the builder, but in slightly different ways. The backend link will save the page and publish your changes, then take you to the backend page editor, while the X link will close the builder and ask if you would like to discard any changes, if you have made any, and reload the front end of the site on the current page you are on. Again, be very careful here, as you can lose any unsaved changes if you are not careful. The help icon will display some helpful videos produced by the developers of this builder to showcase some of the builder's features. It will also show you some of the keyboard shortcuts used which may help speed up the development, but you don't have to use them. These helpful interface options can be used to disable certain features which are built into the builder, such as padding dragging and inline text editor. If you're new to the builder, I would ignore these and keep the default settings, but as you get more advanced, you may find these options useful. Clicking this CSS button, you are able to make alterations to the CSS style of the current page you are working on. If you understand HTML and CSS, then this can help tweak your page. But again, this is an advanced feature and will only work on the page you are currently editing. If you need to make changes to the CSS of the whole site, you will need to edit the CSS in the theme or using the WordPress customizer. This icon is the duplicate page option, which will copy all the page content fully and set up a new page with the same name with copy at the end of the page name seen here. When you save the page, you will have to go to the page editor and change the page name manually, and also the SEO permalink. Layouts are an advanced feature which I will go into in much more detail in an advanced tips and tricks video, along with the import and export buttons shown here. Here we have some useful features where you can undo and redo your recent actions. This isn't perfect and some small changes aren't always picked up. You can also use the usual keyboard shortcuts, such as Ctrl-Z or Command-Z for Mac users. These links here are how you change and edit the mobile responsive features of the Visual Builder. Each link is a width breakpoint where the theme will load the style associated with that device, like an iPad or a mobile. Once you have set the breakpoint you're working with, you can use the Style panel to set options. The Preview button is a way to view the page prior to saving, making sure the mobile responsive changes you have made look right on each device. Then, if you're happy, you can publish the changes. If you need to see the page as a whole, you can use this link to zoom out the page so that you can see the different sections of the page easily, giving you a nice overview. Here is a link which is only active when the side panel has been closed. If you don't see the panel anywhere, then click this link to bring the side panel back. The Visual Builder is a great tool to help you visualize the content on your page, and the sidebar is the tool you'll be using most when editing the site. This not only houses all the modules you'll need, but when you edit a row, column or module, this will change visually to fit the needs of whatever you are editing. So, when you are not editing any modules, rows or columns, the panel will look like this. This section here is where you can add new rows to the page. To add a new row, you can simply click and drag the icon to the page. You can select a multiple column row or a single column row, as I have done here. You can change this later, so don't worry. Now let's move on to the modules that accompany the Visual Builder, highlighted here. I will go into more detail about these modules in our next video, but to add a new module, for instance a simple text block module, just click and drag the module onto the page. Some of you may have spotted a green icon that shows on the rows and modules when you hover over them. This is a quick add feature that will add a row or module to the bottom of the page quickly. Most of the time I'm using the drag and drop features, but it's nice to be able to do both. There is one last icon on the modules that is a really handy feature. When hovering over a module, this star shows yellow if you have favorited a module, or grey if you have not. When I click the star icon, you can see that the module is moved to the favorited section at the top of this box. Again, such a great feature, as often you will only use a small portion of these modules across the site. You can favourite as many as you wish, but these 6 shown here are the ones I use the most. You are also able to search for a specific block by typing in this search box here. Here you can see I have searched gallery, and the gallery module shows. I can now add this to the page or favourite the module if you wish. The sidebar also has 2 other tabs at the top here. The Modules tab is the tab you have been using and is where all the modules and rows are located. The Blocks tab is a handy feature that brings in pre-designed elements from Themify and are available to use in your projects as you wish. This can give you some much needed inspiration sometimes. They are split into categories such as call to action and FAQs. Feel free to investigate these in more detail. Here you can see the Saved tab, which is an advanced but very handy feature. I will explain more in an advanced tips and tricks video later in the series, but here you can see I have a saved button module with a particular style. As you can imagine, adding this style in the menus could become quite tedious, but here you can see I have created this in seconds. You can also save rows and layout parts too. You have seen all the main features of the side panel now, but sometimes you need to move the panel around and sometimes close it. To detach the side panel from the right hand side, hover over the top portion of the sidebar here. You will notice the mouse icon has changed. Click and drag and you will notice that it detaches from the side. Click the X to close the panel and click the green link in the top bar to bring the panel back again. You can then reattach it to the left or right as you hover close to the sides. The sidebar is very important to the builder and has multiple functions. When you are editing a row, column or module, the sidebar will change to match what you are editing. So, for instance, let's add a text module to the page. You'll notice that the sidebar has changed to show the options of the module you are currently editing. In this instance, the sidebar has a text editor you would normally see in the standard WordPress page editor. Now, let's add an image to the page. The first thing you'll see is that the standard WordPress media library has opened up, allowing you quick access to your image library. Simply select the image you want to use or upload an image, then click the Insert File URL button in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen to add this image to the module. You'll now be able to see the options are completely different to the text module you have seen previously. This is to match the image options and settings that are needed to add an image. You can change things like the style of the image. Does it have round edges or a drop shadow? Very handy to make your images stand out. I will go through each module in a deep dive video later on, but just know each module has its own set of options. But what are the other options in this side panel, as this looks very different to how the sidebar looked before? So, starting from the top, this section allows you to see the parent containers of the module, column or sub-row. Clicking on one of these options, for example row, will change the sidebar panel to the row editor panel options. This is a quick way to navigate around the page structure. Going back to the image editor panel, you can see the tabs highlighted here, which allow you to navigate through the different options for the particular module you're currently editing. These are the same for all modules and rows, although columns don't have as many options available. So what are these tabs? Well, tab 1, Image, is the first default tab that shows you all the basic module or row options available, like image URL or the text editor we have seen before. Tab 2, the paintbrush icon, is a styling panel, allowing you to edit individual styles for the module, like margins, padding, background, and much more. There are far too many options to go through individually for each module, column, or row. But you can click this drop down here and edit specific parts for the module, like the image caption of this image can have a different font size and colour if you wish. You can also click here and quickly jump between the mobile, iPad and desktop versions to edit these settings individually. Some modules have many more options in the styling panel. For instance, this image module has 5 options for things including image title, image and image caption, whereas the text block here only has 4 options, where only 2 are really used, as one is for the module title and the other for the drop cap options. So again, showing you each setting for each module isn't feasible and will require some investigation and trial and error from yourself. Tab 3, Visibility, is where you can set the visibility status of a row or module. You can hide or show a module based on what device the user is using. This can be handy to show one version of a module, say an icon, with the icon at the side on a desktop version, but then show a duplicated icon with the icon at the top on a mobile with a completely different style. Moving on to tab 4, Animation. This is a fun tab, where you can assign certain animations to rows or modules based on different factors, such as when the module or row enters the screen, or when the user rolls over it with their mouse. You can also set some scroll effects. These can be very powerful, but also a very advanced feature, and we will go over the animations and scroll effects in a later video. We are almost finished with the sidebar panel, but here I have highlighted some useful navigation buttons, where you can close the panel to get back to the default module selection panel view. Each of these links will save any options you have changed in the module or row and take you back to the module selection panel view. If you have made changes but don't want to save them, click the X link highlighted here and the changes will be lost. Please make sure you save the page in the top bar to make any changes live on your site. Just clicking these links in the sidebar will not save the page.
Now that we know each section of the Builder's user interface, you need to know which part of the page you're editing. In other words, how to identify a module, column, row, or a sub-row. As we hover over this module, you'll notice a few things. A blue menu, an orange dot, and a dark purple dot appear. These colours are very helpful to understand the structure of the page. You can think of a page as being split up like a table with rows and columns. Within the columns you can have the sub-rows and modules. Rows and sub-rows can be split into different column configurations. For example, a single column row or a 50-50 split row, all the way up to a 7-column row. These rows can have a width set individually and also have different widths on different mobile responsive breakpoints. The blue menu and any blue outline you may see identifies this section as a module, like a text module or an image module, for example. Looking at the blue module here, I'll explain what these icons mean. So, starting from the left, we have the pencil icon. This is a link to open up the editor side panel for this module. Clicking the same pencil on the image module will open the image sidebar options, as you might expect. The paintbrush icon. This is a link to open up the sidebar editor again, but will take you to the style options and not the main option page. The duplicate option. This is a link to duplicate a module, column or row. I often use this when creating a lot of a similar section, like a row of icons or links. I will spend my time getting one link or icon exactly how I want it to look, and then duplicate this across, changing the icon, link or text. A fantastic time saver. The cross icon. This will delete the module from the page. The 3-dot icon will open a submenu to some advanced options like save, import and export, which I will go over in an advanced tips and tricks video. To move a module around, we need to hover over a module and then click and drag it around. You'll notice that the builder snaps you to a location, and by moving the module around the page, it will snap to different locations. When you've found where you'd like the module to be, let go of the left mouse button and the module will appear in that location. Further to the blue outline, you may have seen the orange outlines here and an orange dot. These outlines signify a column, and by hovering over the orange dot, the builder will show you the column menu. A column doesn't have as many options as a row or module. The only thing you can do is edit the style by clicking the paintbrush icon here. The other options are all more advanced features, which I will go through in a future video. Lastly, we have the dark purple and pink outlines, which are for rows and sub-rows respectively. Let's focus on a main row for now, and if we hover over the purple dot, we now see a row menu. From left to right, the menu options are the move icon. This is where you are able to click and drag rows around the page and move them above or below other rows. The builder will zoom out, giving you more viewing area to be able to drag and drop the rows where you need. You cannot unfortunately drag a main row to make it a sub-row or vice versa. The cog icon. This has two functions. If you click this, it will open the side panel as you would expect, but just hovering over the icon gives you a menu which is only available when you roll over this icon. These options are for the grid, where you can choose how many columns you need the row to have. You can also align the content of the row and how big the gutters are. The mobile responsive options are also very handy, as you may want to keep the row configurations on certain devices, giving you lots of control and flexibility. The row options here will set how wide the row will be, default, boxed or full width. You can also set the height of the row to be full height of the browser window or default. You can also set CSS names and ID anchors here if you wish. The paintbrush icon is similar to the modules and columns, where it will take you to the style panel on the sidebar, where you can edit all kinds of options with mobile responsive capabilities as well.
Duplicate and delete icons. Here we have the same icons for duplicating and deleting a row as you wish. The three-dot icon is the advanced menu for saving, exporting and importing rows to your project. Here we have a sub-row menu, which is very much like a row, where you can set how many columns you'd like the sub-row to have. But the main difference is that you cannot set the width of a sub-row. It will always fill the parent column. Here you can see I have two examples. I would like the centralized heading and icons in the 4 columns to have the same background and padding to make them stand out. With the main row example I am showing you here, you can see that I have to set each row, background and padding settings. This is a quite simple example, but you could see how using an image could get very confusing or virtually impossible to get right. The sub-row example I'm showing you now is simple. I only need to change the main containing row's background and padding settings to get the desired effect I want. Thank you for watching this video. I know there was a lot to take in here, but I hope you found this useful. Please don't forget we have a full series of videos on the Visual Builder, so please check them out for much more information on the modules and some advanced tips and tricks. If you do have any questions about the Visual Builder or editing your site, please don't hesitate to make a ticket or contact Primary ICT Support direct. I've been John Emmett for Primary ICT Support. Thank you very much for watching.